like this. So in current organization, we are working on Spring Boot for backend, and for frontend we are using AngularJS application. Earlier in my previous company, I also get chance to work in microservices as well. So my current project is so in this what we are doing, we are developing application to work paperless. Currently they are doing their work by paper, so they are running note sheet and all. So same work we are putting in our web application, so they can work on that. So they have different roles like assistant engineer, executive engineer, and sub engineer in chief. So I majorly worked on estimation part. So in that part, what a sub engineer will do, sub engineer will take requirement and fill details of estimation, like he has to put estimation of road work. So accordingly he will estimate and forward it to the higher authority, that is our executive engineer or assistant engineer. Then he will approve and it will forward again for higher authority for approval and all. After estimation, we have administrative technical sanction, and after technical sanction we have administrative sanction, and then we have tendering and process work. After that we have billing module as well in current project. So majorly we are working on MySQL for storing our data.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with the discussion. So in Java, do you know what is difference between array list and linked list?
Yeah, in array list, what we can, if you want to insert data in array list and delete it from middle. So if you want to delete, modify and delete operation, so we should go for linked list. If you want to fetching data and all, so we should go for array list. In array list, what happens, it will store it has previous it has next node address and all.
Okay. So in array list, so if I want to use some concurrent function, concurrent related work, I need to do some multi-thread, I need to code in multi-threaded environment. Mm-hmm. So then which list we should prefer?
In array list, in multi-threaded environment, we have in concurrent, copy and array list we have, copy and write array list I think we have in new packages, Java package. What happens if you are modifying while iterating, it will show concurrent modification.
So how is copy on array list or copy on type list? So there are other also, right? Copy on array list, copy on linked list. So how this internally work?
So it will work on, it will not work on the current object, it will work on the copy of object. You can say it works on the clone. So we will be able to modify them.
Okay.
In HashMap it works on the concurrent HashMap work it works on segments. So it will divide our HashMap into different segments. While reading it won't lock, but in the case of writing it lock that particular segment. So performance becomes faster in this case.
Okay. So normal HashMap, how it internally works, do you know?
Yeah, sure. In HashMap works on the concept of hashing. It will store it has a bucket like concept. It will store our suppose we are putting some value, it will work on like a key value pair. Whenever we are putting some value, it will calculate it has based on the key, and whatever the it will do some mod by capacity and all. After it will get some integer value, and suppose we will get 2, then it will store our object in second position. Suppose collision occur, then it will check whether objects are same or not. If it is same, then it will replace. Apart from that, if objects are not same, then it will append. It will work as a linked list.
Sorry, can you come again? If objects are?
If objects are same, like our key is same, then what happens? It will.
Okay, so how this key same or key is different? How? So suppose in I have one hash map and I want to do a put operation.
Okay.
So I will write something like map.put, then some key and value, right?
Okay.
So here what HashMap internally do? So when I execute this statement map.put, what internally do? Suppose I provided one key object and another value object.
So suppose is it custom object or predefined? If it is custom, then
So for example, it's a custom object.
Okay. So for custom object, what we need to do, we have to override hash code and equals method, and we have to write.
No, that is different. Overriding those things, I'm not asking. I'm asking what HashMap do internally. So when HashMap received one key, suppose object O, then HashMap what it checks or how it stored the value.
So while we are putting the value in HashMap, what happens? It will calculate it has hash code first of all. So whatever the hash code it will receive, it will check the capacity of our HashMap. Then it will do mode. Suppose our HashMap has capacity of 16. So we whatever we do, we will do mode by 16. So we will get a number between 0 to 15. Suppose we get some number, so whatever the number we are receiving, it will put that object on that particular bucket index. Actually, meanwhile, it will also check. Suppose two hash code comes same, like after calculating and all, we will receive suppose 2. Then it will check our object content or whatever we are writing in our equals method. So suppose if it equals, then it will not it will replace that particular index, bucket index.
Okay, so suppose for example I have one employee class.
Okay.
So in my employee class I have so I am overriding the hash code method and returning integer 1, and also overriding the equals method, and there I am returning false. So suppose I have 10 employee object for 10 different employee. Okay. So the employee class have employee name and ID. Those are different for each employee object. Now I want to store this employee object as a key of that hash map. It will work?
Yeah, I think you are returning one constant value in hash code, and you are returning false. So yeah, I think it works, but performance degraded. I think actually what happens if you are returning only one, so all the object will store at the first index.
Okay, so during fetching, so when I write like, suppose I have 10 employee object which are stored in the map. Now I'll perform some get operation. So I'll write like map.get E5. E5 is for fifth number employee object. So then how it will return me the value or not? What do you think?
Case of fetching, maybe it will calculate as row and it's false. I think every time our equals method will return false. Actually, I'm not sure about the fetching. I think our has code method will return 1. It goes to first index and it will check or object. So it will always return false. I think it will not work in that case.
So then I'll get some exception, right? Because no key will be matching. Okay, so do you know any changes made in HashMap in Java 8 to overcome this performance related issue that we told?
Performance, yeah, in concurrent HashMap we have like it divides our HashMap into different segments. So for in Java 8 also it's not using linked list. Instead of that it is using tree structure for storing in the bucket for same key index.
Yeah, so in Java 8 for HashMap internal structure we have some changes. So do you know what are those?
Sorry, I didn't get HashMap.
In Java 8,
Yeah.
HashMap internal structure have some changes. So do you know what are those?
Actually, I know this one only. It is internally using, instead of linked list, it is using tree. Apart from that,
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So it's a simple tree or any specific kind of tree?
I think it's a binary tree.
Okay. So in Java 8 we have functional interface. Do you know what is functional interface?
Yeah. So the functional interface which have only one abstract method. So we can use it for lambda expression. Single abstract method. We have any functional interface.
Okay. So can I have multiple default method in a functional interface?
Yeah, we can have.
Or multiple static method?
Yes, we can have.
Okay. Okay, so in Java, what are the types of exception available?
Checked and unchecked exception.
So can you give some example of checked and unchecked?
Those are child of exception class are checked exception. It will show error at compile time. For unchecked exception, it is child of runtime exception.
Sorry?
Child of runtime exceptions are called as for unchecked exception.
Okay, so can you give some example of checked and unchecked exception?
IO exceptions are checked exceptions. Null pointer are unchecked, I think. Actually, I forgot the hierarchy actually.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, so In Java, we have serialization also, right?
Yes.
So, do you know why we use serialization and what is used for that?
A little bit I know. Suppose we have to transfer our object into byte of string, so we should use serialization. For that we should implement our serializable interface in our class. We have classes available object read and object write. I think the class is responsible for writing our object into the file or string. Suppose if you don't want to not serialize, suppose if in our object some fields are available, and if you do not want to serialize that particular field, then we can use transient keyword there.
Okay. Okay. So you used Spring Boot also, right?
Yes.
So which version?
We are using 2 point something we are using. Earlier we have used 1.5.
Okay. What are the advantages of Spring Boot over normal Spring framework or Spring framework?
What we have to do, we have to resolve our dependency our own. We have to check each and every jar file. If we find some conflict, then it is very tedious task to solve. In Spring Boot, what happens, it has starter dependencies, so just we need to put in our form.xml, and automatically it has enable auto configuration also available to configure all our dependencies and objects beans in our applications. Apart from that, it has embedded Tomcat and to running our application as a standalone application. And apart from that, we have Angular CLI command line interface available, and Spring IO for creating our object, and directly we can create object by site, and we can download, and we can import it. So it will provide us a ready application and a simple dependency, like we have to import JPA, then we have to import Spring Starter JPA. If we want to implement security and all, so we have to import security starter dependency. So it will makes developer life very easy.
Okay. So in Spring Boot, we in normal Spring framework, we have Spring Bean or dependency injection related concepts, right? So what is dependency injection?
Dependency injection, suppose our bean required, suppose our class required another class object, so manually we are creating object by new keyword. We are injecting some other will provide us that particular object it is created on container. So for that we are using AutoWire, AutoWire annotation. Suppose in our controller class we need a service class object. So what we are doing, we are auto-wiring its interface. So it will check its implemented classes. If class is available, then it will inject that particular object in our controller class.
Okay. Spring Bean, what are the scopes available for a Spring Bean?
5 available. First is singleton. By default, our bean is singleton. If you have not defined, second is prototype. Third is request. Fourth is session, and fifth is global session. So total 5 available.
Okay, so when we should create singleton bean and when we should create prototype bean? Can you give some example?
Suppose we need like single object, single instance throughout the application, then we should use singleton. If we required object change each and every time, suppose in the case of time changing every time, we are holding time in our object. So suppose if we are returning singleton, it will not work. So in the case of that, we have used prototyping. So it will return new object every time.
Okay, so in Spring Boot, are you using Spring Data JPA?
Yeah.
Okay, so we write the annotation at the rate transactional, right?
Yes.
So why this how this at the rate transactional annotation work?
Transaction annotation, it will suppose if we are inserting some data in our different tables, and suppose something happened wrong, it automatically roll back all the data. Internally, I think it works like it will begin the transaction. Suppose we have put in our method, same method, so I think it will begin the transaction. After at the end, it will check all the data properly inserted. If suppose some exception occurred, then it will roll back that particular data from tables. Suppose it successfully, then it will commit all the transactions.
Okay, so I can there are propagation levels also available. So do you know what are the propagation levels available for transaction?
Definition like rollback can define as a parameter. In propagation, I think I have used, but not that much frequently.
Okay. So in Spring Framework we have Spring Filters and also we have Spring Interceptor. Do you know what is difference between these two?
I think filters are our legacy servlet filters implementation, I think. And interceptors are improved of filters. So they have, I think, more functionality than the filters. These are works like suppose some request coming to us, and if we want to intercept that request data and all, we should use interceptor and all. And for request for incoming request also we can use filter. Suppose in JWT we have some filters. Suppose while getting we have pre-filter, after processing we have post-filter. So it will filter our each and every request. Interceptor I used in our Spring application for intercepting our request. So we can check whether user is authorized or not. After authorization and authentication, we forward to their dashboard.
Yeah, this okay, leave it. You You have used Spring Framework, which version?
Spring framework like 3.x earlier I worked, 4.x currently working.
Okay. Okay, so suppose I have one REST service, and here my requirement is so I am returning some list of employee, and the service is fetching the data from database and then returning to UI.
Okay.
So I have one suppose microservice kind of application. So I have service there, and from front end maybe Angular I am requesting and getting those list of employee. So here every time I don't want to hit the database because these employee information do not change much. So in that case, what design approach I can go for?
Yes, suppose we can cache the data if you want, you don't want to move each and every time to database. So we can use caching. So I think Redis server we can use. Apart from that, cache in Hibernate in JPA we can configure. Second level cache we need to configure for it.
Okay. Okay, so in Spring Framework, we have Spring Cloud related packages for microservice. Did you work on those?
Like which type of API?
Yeah, there are Spring Cloud related packages. So like Spring Cloud Config Server. So those things.
In my previous organization, I worked on like API gateway, that is Java API gateway, and apart from that,
Okay.
cloud config server for configuration, all the properties file we can configure there, so common. Then we have authentication server, and for routing whatever request is coming, first it will land it up to the router, that is our Julia API gateway. After that, suppose we are forwarding it some authentication, or will go to the authentication server and will return, and then what we are doing, we are forwarding it to the respective, suppose we have to perform some fetching operation, so it will goes to that particular microservice and it will check that if suppose something happens wrong, then we designed a circuit breaker, that is our for fallback. We have fallback method we are writing.
So for circuit breaker, what do we use?
Name I forget what we used
Hystrix.
Hystrix, yeah, Hystrix we are using. There we are writing fallback methods.
Okay. Okay, so in microservice architecture, so suppose I have one microservice architecture based project, and there I am seeing that there I am seeing that I need to call one microservice from another microservice, and I want to maintain that maintain the transaction also. Like if the first microservice is suppose I need to call 3 microservice, okay, in a row. So I will be calling asynchronously, and I want to maintain the transaction between those microservices. So what approach I can follow, do you know?
so that you want to manage transaction across all the microservices. So
Yes.
okay, suppose one failed, then we have to roll back all. So in that case, we should go for a saga design pattern, I think. So
So what is this saga design pattern? How it works?
actually I have not implemented, but I have studied for this. We have two approaches available in saga design pattern. Not able to actually recall that. It's a long back I developed, but we have not used transaction in our microservice. But I can implement.
Okay. Okay, and so you also aware about AWS. I see in your resume AWS, IoT, robotics, machine learning. So, what you have done these things, like what you have done in AWS, it's a huge thing, right? AWS. So,
Yeah,
in what? Yeah.
actually, it's
So,
my area of interest. Actually, for interest purpose, I am learning. But my previous company, we have deployed our application on EC2 server instance, and for majorly I used EC2 instance, and apart from that, we have used S3 bucket for our Angular application. And for database we have used RDS service. These services I used.
okay. So, in IoT?
IoT in my previous company, what they have done project, and they have some device available, that is beacon. So it works on the Bluetooth technology. So what happens, suppose our Bluetooth is on in our mobile, it automatically send promotional messages to them. Apart from